looking at the issue.
Okay. So what other things, what other areas in your mind do you feel that they could improve on, as they continue to avoid the potential probability of more and more lawsuits and legal payouts that they don't want to make?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's a little over-legislated right now. If anything, I think they need to back off a little bit.
Okay.
This is a violent game. When you get up to the pro level, I think it's as safe as you can get because guys know not to do certain things, like targeting guys and all that. And just during the course of the game, guys get called for things that are questionable. So, I think that they've got it under control. I don't really see them being able to do anything that they haven't already thought of. We just got to get better at the judgment calls that these officials are making because some of these target calls that I'm seeing that are changing the ebb and flow of football games aren't necessarily targeting. It's the other guy who's carrying the football, lowering his head while the guy's trying to make a tackle, and he can't change in the middle of a play to adjust for that. So some of these calls are a little egregious. So I'm an old school kind of guy. Concussions are part of the game, but I think, we're pretty much where we need to be on this, and I can't really think of anything right now that they've done that we can do to improve it.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. We have that football game called the Super Bowl, which is like 8 days away. Okay. And for all those that don't know the matchup, which probably everybody does, because it's the biggest party day on the planet, we had the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Bill, some observations about that football game here in your old neck of the woods in the Miami area.
Well, I kind of, I like, me, I like to gamble on the games, a small amount of money and save for my supper. I'm watching how this is playing out. I'm just kind of leaning towards the 49ers right now to win the game.
Okay.
And the reason for it is in the playoffs, the team that can run the football the best and impose their will usually is able to win the game. And I just think in this case that's, going to be the 49ers. I think they're going to be able to run the football like Kansas City and play keep away from Mahomes and get off to a start. And I think it's going to go back and forth, but I like the 49ers. I think they're the smarter team. And I think they're going to make less mistakes. And I'm looking forward to seeing that happen. But who knows? It could be dead wrong.
Well, I love what you just said, keep away from Mahomes. That's actually pretty good. Because I think that's how they go ahead and do it. I think sometimes your best defense is a ball-controlled offense. Really,
sure.
How many times have we seen that?
Yeah, you like to cut the heart out of the team. They got this offense, and, it's real high profile, and, they're scoring a lot of points. They're sitting on the sidelines getting stiff and can't give a track because the other team's going on 7 and 8 minute drives.
Well, time of possession we know is key. I got to tell you, I know it wasn't a funny story when I saw it, but I covered a Lions game at Soldier Field against the against the Chicago Bears, and the Bears controlled the ball for the better part of 40 minutes, and that left Barry Sanders on the bench, for the better part of 40 minutes, and he was in about 20 minutes, and therefore wasn't one of his better performances. It didn't help that it was during the dead cold of winter right after Christmas, and I'll tell you, you keep Barry off the field because the other offense has time of possession. So everything you're talking about makes a whole lot of sense.
And what's really interesting is when the teams know you're going to run the football, and they screw eight guys down into the box, and you're still able to run the football. There's not a lot of that they can do. And, it's just it's tough sometimes for offensive teams to get their rhythm. Particularly when the team, they're sitting on the sidelines for, 7 or 8 minutes. So it's fun to watch, and as an offensive lineman, that's what you play for.
Let's talk about we'll recap a little bit about the Green Bay 49ers game. I know it's painful for Candy to do that, but when you spot a team 27-0, and then they get back into the football game, do you feel that the San Francisco 49ers are going to try to duplicate that against the Chiefs?
Sure, if they can get away with it. Kansas City's got a pretty good defense, but I don't see them being any better than Green Bay. That's why I like them in the game, and I just think they're going to gash them pretty good between the tackles. And it's going to be, and that's exactly what happened in the Green Bay game, and took Aaron Rodgers out of this game, and then it allows them to unleash the house up front, which is the defensive line, which a lot of people would say is the best in football, and it gets Green Bay out of the game. So you got to be able to run the football in order to keep them honest, so that the guys can't pin their earbacks and run after the quarterback, and sack them. And that's exactly what happened to Aaron Rodgers. That's what's happened to him the last couple of times he's come out there. So same old, and I don't anticipate anything different. But you sometimes Mahomes and those guys get up by one or two touchdowns because he's able to make some really big time throws, big time plays, which is his MO. The 49ers are, I think, the team that have enough of a run game where they can stick with it. So I don't really see that happening to the 49ers in this game. In fact, I think I see it happening to Kansas City, where they're going to be in the same situation that Aaron Rodgers was in. Just I got to get out there, and I can't because they're going on these long drives.
So does Jimmy Garoppolo become a game manager in this game, or do you think he has a very big offensive day in the air?
No, it's going to be the same thing. He's going to be a game manager. That's the beautiful thing about learning football is, you don't want your quarterback to turn the ball over. If we can hand the ball off like 7 or 8 times in the second half and run, 20 to 30 running plays in the second half like the 49ers did, well, they'd be stupid not to do that. So that takes all the pressure off of Garoppolo. And then when they do throw the ball, it's such a surprise because the guys are honoring the run so much, the receivers are usually wide open. So, Garoppolo's been doing that all year. They really haven't been put in a situation where he has to come back from, let's say, 14 or 21 points down. We haven't really seen that body of work yet. And a lot of people think that he can't do that, but, we'll see when he gets placed in that situation. But so far he hasn't been, and that's a good thing for the 49ers. Hopefully that's what will play out.
Candy, what are your observations about what Bill's talking about?
I think I like San Francisco's defense there. I think Mahomes will have to do a lot more because I feel that Rodgers doesn't have the wide receiver threat anymore that Mahomes does. So I think that makes a big difference. I think this is going to be an interesting game.
Why do you think it's going to play out, Candy?
I think San Francisco's defense is going to come through. I think if, and this is a big if San Francisco gets down early, I don't think they can come back against. I don't think they have the offense because their offense is really run. And let's face it, when you get down by a couple of touchdowns or anything like that, what are you normally going to do? You're going to pass because you want a quick strike. You want to quick get back in the game. So I think teams tend to go away from their run strength and go to the passing game. And I don't think Garoppolo and his arm can beat Mahomes. So it depends on who gets out quickly. That's my take.
Let me ask you a quick. Okay, I'm the 49ers head coach. Okay, and I have a really good run game. How many points, Candy, do I have to be down before I start throwing the ball more than I normally do and get out of my run game? How many points would I have to be down by Kansas City?
I think if you're down more than 2 touchdowns.
Okay. Well, that's why you're not a coach.
That's true.
One of the things you got to do is when you're down 14 points, you can run the football and get back in the game. And that's the sign of a real good team. I would say 21 points, Candy.
Okay.
I just think in this case, if Kansas City was to get up by 14 points, I think it'd be really difficult for the 49ers to sit back and go, we got to change what we're doing. Okay, we got to put Garoppolo in there. We got to start throwing the ball a little bit more. I think they just could continue to stay in their game because they break off a lot of long runs. And, you can't, it also depends on the time of the game.
Well, that's
I'm thinking if it's in the fourth quarter and they're down by 14 points, they're still going to run the football. But I would say halfway mark of the fourth quarter, they're still down by 14. Then they're going to do what you're saying, Candy.
You know,
It's tough. It's tough, but that's your asshole gets a little tight, as we like to say. But sometimes you got to stick with it, and that's what the real good teams do.
yeah, between the two of you, and it's interesting to see the banner between you two, between 14 and 21. And I think that went through my mind, Bill, is the time of the game. For which, if you're in the first half, then I figure with you stay with the running game a little bit more to try to get back. As I am a Barry Sanders guy, you get one big explosive running back that has a big hole, and he can get you back in the game with his feet. On the other hand, later in the game where you're desperate and you need to get some points right away, then people tend to go with it. So I'm kind of like in between both of you, between 14 and 21, and I'll just have some fun with the number. I'll say 17. That way I'm kind of right in the middle. But time of the game is a real big factor.
I do agree time of game is, but I also would like to point out that Mahomes was down how much in one game and came back. And so if they are already out to a 14-point lead and San Francisco goes down and scores, will San Francisco's defense be able to stop Mahomes, or will Mahomes still keep going? And that's where my issue is because Mahomes can do both. He can throw and he can run. He's a dual threat. And if San Francisco is down by 14, that means they haven't stopped something. Whether it be...
I don't disagree with you, Candy. In fact, I would go one better. In addition to where we had in the ballgame before Garoppolo has to open the offense and say get out of doing what they do best, which is run the football, you also got to see how did the 49ers score? Was it a special team score? Was it a kickoff return?
Right.
Or whatever. And a lot of times what's happening in the game will dictate how soon you get out of what you're doing. And, I would say that creative, the book would sit there and the analytics would say, okay, we got to start throwing the football because we're down by 14.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm the coach, I'm sitting back and going, well, we got to stick with it a little bit more. And people are getting angry at us because they think we should open it up. Just because we might be able to snap off that long one, and that's what we've been doing. That's our MO, and we got to stick to it. So, but when you're talking about playing against a guy like Mahomes, one punt, and all of a sudden they turn around and do, Kansas City did a pretty decent job of playing keep away from the Titans in the second half as well.
Yep.
So it's not like they can't put the ball on the ground and do it if they had to.
Right.
But when you got a guy like Mahomes, everybody gets past that thinking that's how they're going to do it. So, yeah, Candy, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I just think in this case, if you're asking me what the 49ers got to do in this particular game, I'm going to try to go to the bone and try to stick with the run as much as possible until I get out of it. And a lot of it's going to be based on how Mahomes is playing, and then also how much time is left in the game, and also how the hell did we score the last touchdown. If it was a long run, we're going to stick with it. If we're sitting there going, we got lucky because it was special teams play or kickoff or an interception or something like that, then that'll dictate exactly if I'm going to stick to the game or not. So
Bill,
that's pretty much our answer to that.
So Bill, if you're the San Francisco 49ers and you win the coin toss, are you taking the ball or do you want to give it to Mahomes first?
I'm giving it to Mahomes first.
Really? Okay.
I want the ball. I want the ball in the second half. And I want to see what they have on offense. And I want to give myself a chance to play the position game. So hopefully we get a 3 and out, they'll punt the ball, and I got a short field.
Do you see any nerves in this game coming forward?
See any nerves?
Nerves, first time there, big stage, a lot of rookies.
Yeah. Some guys are making some stupid plays. Maybe a tip ball, an interception, that kind of stuff. Not really.
Okay.
I think both these teams have been there. I think they're young. I think they're smart enough football teams. If I see any team doing it, it'll be Kansas City. Now,
I should point out to you, Bill, that Candy and I covered the Kansas City Chiefs Jacksonville Jaguars game during the opener, and Candy was on the field taking pictures and saw these guys up close and personal. So, with all due respect, she pretty much knows what the aerial arsenal is in terms of what Kansas City can throw. And moreover, Jacksonville was going into the year with a very top-notch defense. Now, how it ended up working out was another story. But